On March 31st, 2019, Nipsey Hussle was killed outside a store he owned on a block he'd purchased, in the neighborhood he refused to leave. 23 years earlier, Tupac warned the music industry was designed to keep black artists earning, but never owning. When he died in 1996, he reportedly had less than $105,000 to his name. Nipsey took that warning and tried to build what Tupac never could. What that cost and who it threatened starts not with conspiracy, but with contracts. On July 5, 1994, standing outside the New York State Supreme Court, Tupac Shakur laid out a structural critique of the music industry. He warned that standard record contracts were designed to generate perpetual debt. He stated, "The industry's got us on a leash. They give us a contract, then they make us pay for everything, including the studio time we never see profit from." Shakur was describing recoupment, a process where labels fronted promotional advances and production costs, then charged those expenses directly back against the artist's royalty share. Under this traditional label system, heavily exemplified by Death Row Records, the corporate entity retained sole ownership of the master recordings, the original sound recordings that control all future licensing, reissues, and digital monetization. At the time, his systemic warning was dismissed as the venting of a volatile artist complaining about his own deal. Critics treated his argument as a personal, isolated grievance rather than an accurate map of the industry's business model. And here's what makes this uncomfortable. Nearly 23 years separate Shakur's warning from the independent ownership experiment Nipsey Hussle would launch on the streets of Los Angeles, proving that the underlying corporate trap remained virtually unchanged. While Shakur's warnings were once written off, this structural trap became undeniable when the music industry's highest earners ran into it. In June 2019, Taylor Swift posted a public statement protesting the sale of her first 6 master recordings to Ithaca Holdings, a dispute Billboard treated as a major corporate battle. In September 2020, Kanye West published 100 pages of his Universal contracts on Twitter, forcing trade publications to cover the disclosures as legitimate business news. Although their contract terms differed from Shakur's, both disputes proved his point. The label owns the asset, while the creator pays the debt. This financial reality was already clear in September 1996. When Shakur died, he left less than $105,000 in checking, while carrying over $4 million in debt to Death Row Records. On September 13, 1996, the day Tupac Shakur died in Las Vegas, his global cultural reach was established, but his personal liquidity was almost non-existent. Forensic estate reports filed in the months following his death showed a checking account balance under $105,000, with some probate records putting his immediate cash as low as $15,000. While his posthumous catalog would later generate over $40 million, his living reality was dictated by the terms of his contract. Probate filings from late 1996 listed his total assets at approximately $200,000, yet they also detailed a reported $4.9 million in debt owed to Death Row Records for advances, video shoots, and recoupable production costs. This financial disparity reveals the gap between accurately diagnosing a systemic problem and successfully securing control over the proceeds of your labor. Shakur understood the trap, but he died before he could build the independent infrastructure to escape it. His death marked the end of his personal struggle for financial autonomy, leaving behind a legacy that he never lived to spend. The blueprint existed only in theory, waiting for an artist who could turn the critique of exploitation into a practical business model. And here's what makes this uncomfortable. On October 8, 2013, Nipsey Hussle bypassed major record labels and major retail stores entirely, launching his Crenshaw mixtape as an independent, direct-to-fan release on the corner of Crenshaw and Slauson in South Los Angeles. To test his new business model, he manufactured a limited first edition run of exactly 1,000 physical CD copies and priced them at $100 each. According to sales reporting from Forbes and the Los Angeles Sentinel, this physical run reportedly sold out completely within 24 hours. Hot New Hip Hop further reported that Jay-Z purchased 100 of those physical copies for $10,000, a transaction that served as high-profile validation of the independent strategy. At the time, contemporary music critics and label executives dismissed the entire campaign as a temporary marketing stunt, a desperate effort to salvage dying physical media, or simply an absurd price for a mixtape that was simultaneously available online for free. They argued that regular consumers would never pay a premium for music they could easily obtain for nothing. And here's what makes this uncomfortable. This direct-to-fan experiment laid the foundation for the 2020s digital economy, proving that dedicated communities will pay premium rates directly to independent artists to secure physical ownership. Although officially released in January 2015, the economic strategy behind Mailbox Money became a key case study in artist independence by 2016. Hussle escalated his scarcity model, manufacturing just 100 physical copies of the project and pricing them at $1,000 each. On January 20th, 2015, The Guardian documented the release, reporting that Hussle sold 60 copies in the first week alone, securing $60,000 in direct revenue. This extreme pricing tested whether fans would fund a self-sustaining business model at a premium level, bypassing traditional distribution networks entirely. It was a proof of concept that shifted his focus from digital independence to physical ownership. Instead of chasing corporate licensing, Hussle prepared to anchor this capital into the pavement of South Los Angeles. And here's what makes this uncomfortable. In 2017, property deeds and county assessor records confirmed a $2.5 million real estate transaction. Ermias Asghedom and business partner Dave Gross purchased the entire L-shaped strip mall at the intersection of Crenshaw Boulevard and Slauson Avenue. This was the exact parking lot where Asghedom had sold mixtapes as a teenager, anchoring his business in the pavement he once worked. Within this space, he established the flagship storefront for the Marathon clothing, operating it as a smart store that used a custom app to deliver exclusive media to customers. In February 2018, he co-founded Vector 90, a co-working space and STEM center designed to connect South Los Angeles youth with technology careers, though the measured results of this local economic engine remain an ongoing study. While skeptics dismissed these local investments as minor community charity, Forbes and Billboard documented them as a structured business strategy. This period of expansion included several media projects in active development, such as a documentary about herbalist Alfredo Bowman, known as Dr. Sebi, which production records show was an educational film rather than the conspiracy symbol it became after his death. And here's what makes this uncomfortable. Can local physical ownership truly protect a creator if the larger systems of distribution, finance, and security remain entirely outside their control? The $2.5 million purchase of the Slauson Plaza arrived as the surrounding Crenshaw corridor faced intense speculative pressure. According to reports in the Los Angeles Times and Nonprofit Quarterly, outside real estate capital threatened to displace long-term black families as the city constructed the new Crenshaw LAX transit line. Rather than opposing urban development entirely, Hussle argued in a 2018 address that local property ownership was the only way to secure commercial jobs and preserve the community's cultural identity. Los Angeles County Assessor records show that commercial real estate values along Crenshaw Boulevard escalated sharply between 2013 and 2019, a trend driven by broad municipal transit planning and infrastructure changes rather than any single private venture. While the Slauson intersection was officially designated as Nipsey Hussle Square, and local initiatives like Destination Crenshaw worked to anchor the neighborhood's heritage, county property data indicates that commercial rents in the corridor continued to rise post-2019, highlighting the persistent displacement pressure felt by small independent businesses. And here's what makes this uncomfortable. The elevated public attention that celebrated Hussle's local ownership model simultaneously turned his neighborhood into a high-profile target for the very speculative capital he fought to keep out. On March 31st, 2019, 33-year-old Ermias Asghedom was shot and killed in the parking lot of his own Marathon clothing store at the intersection of Crenshaw Boulevard and Slauson Avenue. The sudden loss of Nipsey Hussle immediately generated widespread rumors, but the legal facts of the case were established inside a Los Angeles courtroom. In July 2022, a jury convicted Eric Holder Jr. of first-degree murder, along with 2 counts of attempted voluntary manslaughter for injuring bystanders. Court records and trial coverage from NPR, ABC News, and CBS News, Los Angeles detailed that the killing stemmed from a localized personal dispute. According to witness testimony, Holder walked away from a brief conversation in the parking lot, returned with 2 handguns, and opened fire. The prosecution presented no evidence of an organized plot, corporate conspiracy, or real estate collusion, separating courtroom findings from public speculation. The legal sequence concluded on February 22, 2023. Superior Court Judge H. Clay Jackie II sentenced Holder to 60 years to life in prison, combining 25 years to life for the murder, 25 years for a firearm enhancement, and an additional 10 years for the attempted manslaughter charges. While public speculation continued to search for larger hidden forces, the documented criminal case proved a far more straightforward and devastating reality. And here's what makes this uncomfortable. Both men spent their lives confronting massive, deeply entrenched systems of economic control, only to be taken down by the immediate, localized violence of the very streets they were working to empower. The ultimate tragedy is that ownership cannot buy safety. We are left with a blueprint written in blood, proving that the hardest part of building a kingdom is surviving the pavement beneath it. Where does the culture go from here? Let me know in the comments. But